Ladies and gentlemen,
Businesses have life cycles just like humans, and what they need at each stage will be different.
Yeah, it's a setup to make you get up and get into it. Allow me to influence your financial affluence.
It's a setup
To make you get up and get into it. Allow me to influence your financial affluence.
the six-figure setup.
But nothing in this world that I like more than checks. Money. All I really wanna see is the money.
Go get the money, go get the money.
My check.
The six-figure setup.
Hey guys, it is your girl, Tiffany Gillespie, host of the Six Figure Setup podcast. I am super excited to be back with another episode in a brand new year. You all know all month long, we've been talking about client acquisition and client retention, which are just really fancy ways of saying, how can you get more clients in your business and how can you keep the clients that you get in your business? I'm really excited because this week we have a special interview with someone who I had the privilege of connecting with many years ago. And this is actually our first time officially getting to do something together. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to tell you more about my guest in 1 second, but I want you all to remember to just pay attention to the commercials that are airing during this episode so that you know what's going on with T3, you know what's going on with the six-figure setup and with me and all of my guests. That's where you all are going to be able to find out more information and detailed information about the things that you all need to know. So this week, we are really focusing on building something sustainable. You all know that that is a huge part of what we do with the Six Figure Setup podcast, that we're not just talking about the here and now, but we are also talking about the future. We're talking about what comes next. And my guest today is really going to be able to speak to that. So I want you all to get yourselves in the mindset that we're going to be talking about creating true generational wealth. My guest today is a part of a family business, and she's been able to really reap the benefit of the generational wealth that has been built for her, but also to be able to do that for the next generation and to teach people within her community how to do the same as well. I love that about this family, that they do not hoard the information that they know and what they've learned and the keys to success that they have, but they literally have a community outreach program. There's a whole VP that's over the community outreach program, and they are teaching others in their community how to do exactly what they have been able to do for over 30 years. Y'all, this business started the year that I was born. Like, that's how old this business is, how many decades they have been able to endure, and just how much they have grown and learned and evolved and been able to pass this business down through the generations. So you're probably wondering at this point, like, who is this guest? Can you just come on and let us know who it is so that we're not having to guess about anything? And I would be more than happy to do that. So I'm really excited because today we have Chelsea Ellis Hogan, who is our guest for today's podcast. And again, I'm super excited that we're able to do this interview because her story and her journey is very unique. It's not one that you hear often, but it's one that's very important to me as the CEO of T3 Diversity Solutions. You all know that we help our clients to navigate building successful businesses in industries where gender diversity is lacking. And Miss Chelsea is in an industry where gender diversity is lacking. So Chelsea Ellis Hogan is a third-generation woman and minority business owner of Jim Reynolds Asphalt Contractor Incorporated. This is an asphalt and concrete maintenance company that specializes in commercial and residential maintenance. She is also the author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Fail to Success, and a keynote speaker who hails from my hometown, which is Louisville, Kentucky. So I'm so excited to have you. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here today with you as well.
Yes, thank you so much. Like I've said probably about 5 times, I'm really excited to do this interview. We are two women from the same hometown, and I think that it's only time. It's finally time for us to connect and be able to do something together. So let's just kind of really dig into it because, as I said, this episode, I think, is really special because you have managed to enter into an industry that is definitely male dominated, but you also inherited a business that had been built, for the family to run. And you all have been, owning it and operating it for decades now. I've built a business that's been around for over 10 years at this point. I know how hard it is. I'm looking forward to the day that I can say my business is 30, 31, 32, 33 years old, 40, 50 years old, whatever. So let's talk about, I want to kind of start a little bit personal and just talk about why. Like, why did you want to become a part of the family business? Was it like always expected, or was it a choice that you made? Tell us about that.
Yes, so really the business itself, the asphalt company, it really wasn't something that was always planned. But with me, I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, though. It's just because I've been raised by a lot of small business owners, self-employed people, entrepreneurs. So it was just always all around me all of my life. So just growing up and seeing different businesses, my senior year is when my father actually ended up purchasing my family business, Jim Reynolds Asphalt, that was owned by my great uncle. So with that being like the time frame of him purchasing the business and me graduating from high school, it kind of made a perfect dynamic to where we both were able to say, hey, if we commit to this for the next, few years, we actually can really grow it together. So that was kind of how we ended up doing it and choosing it with this specific business.
Wow. Wow. So good. If we do this together, we can actually grow it. So how important is family to you in general? Again, I'm sure that we can make some assumptions about the importance of family professionally, but what role do you think family has played in your life and in your success as a businesswoman?
Family has played a huge role in my success, mainly because I'm a very hands-on learner, as well as I'm a very observer. So I observe different people's lives, situations, careers, and I've always had a large family. I have 5 siblings, as well as I have over 16 great aunts and uncles on one side of my family and a host more on another. So I've always had a lot of cousins, a lot of just older examples of ways to do things and ways not to do things. So that's just been my learning experience, whether it be personal life, whether it be being able to apply it to business. I've just learned from all of my family members and the people around me, as well as learning about really how to show and be a true leader too. I've learned that from family. I've looked at the leadership of my father, the leadership that my mother shows. Even my grandparents, they had a lot of amazing leadership qualities, whether it be just being nice to the point where people were able to be honest and open with them, or being stern when needed to where they were able to make the decisions, the hard choices needed for the family for us to grow. So just learning all those different things, I was able to really use in business, especially for my journey as well, because I didn't go the route of going to college. So I stepped right out of high school and went straight into the business world of learning hands-on. So I had to use my experiences and I had to use other people's experiences as my way of being able to avoid making a lot of mistakes. So it truly helped me a lot having a large family.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that you didn't go the typical route of going to college. So did you ever consider going to college? Did you try it? Or, what did that journey look like for you? Because as you said, you came straight out of high school and basically went to work.
Yeah, so I definitely considered it. I even applied for a lot of different colleges for the entrepreneurship programs and business programs. But what made me make the decision to where I've never stepped foot inside of a college campus or in a college classroom. So if you ask me anything about that, I couldn't help you on that. But the reason why I decided to do that route was it was because I realized something about myself that honestly other people I knew were similar to me, and I wanted to be an example. And that was that I knew that I could go to school, I could get A's, I could get the B's, I could, coast my way through and pass. But I knew that I truly, my learning style and the way that I thrived was learning hands on, learning from people. Was honestly, it's the technique of learning, implementing it into my life, and teaching it to other people was my way of being able to truly learn and grow and meditate on information. So knowing that about myself, I felt like I wasn't going to be true to myself if I went to college. If I did this traditional route of teachers telling me that in order to prove that I knew this subject, that I had to pass a quiz. And knowing that I didn't have to pass that quiz to know that information. And I think really high school helped prove that to me, because I was in business classes in high school, and my business teacher, it was funny because my father would give me books to give to my business teacher to help him with his lessons. So I'm like, I have somebody in my household who can teach me, how to do these business things. So should I really take that route of, going the traditional route, or should I take the route of trusting the relationship that I have with my father and the relationship that he has with the people in business and leveraging that? So that was kind of really my thought process that led me to the decision. And then also knowing that college was always going to be there. So even if it didn't work out that route with my father, I knew that I can go back and, still, these colleges are not going anywhere. They're gonna keep making their money, and if I have to give them money eventually, I can do that. So that also made it a little bit easier to make that decision.
Yeah, that's so good. The colleges are not going anywhere. In fact, they keep making new ones.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. I'm so happy that you understood. I think it's amazing that you understood at a young age what worked best for you, because at the age of 18, and I tell people this all the time, I think we're still kids at 18. You're not an adult at 18, even though the law says that you are, but literally it's teen, like 18, 19. You're just an older teenager, not even quite yet a young adult. But for you to know that, where did that confidence come from? Because I know from my story, and it's definitely, I don't fault my parents or anything like that, but going to college wasn't an option in our house. And I think that my parents did the best and recommended the best course of action based on what they knew. I didn't have people who were full-time entrepreneurs in my family, like your family, right? Everybody in my family went to work. You work your 40 hours a week for 40 plus years, and then you get your pension or your check or whatever comes at the end of you stopping a job. I don't know, because I won't be getting one from a company. I gotta give myself one. But whatever you get at the end of your time working your career, that was the plan, right? And that's what my parents knew. I talk about this all the time, and I appreciate that they taught me what they knew. But I don't even know. I know for a fact I didn't have the confidence to say that going to college, that I wasn't going to go to college. So where did that confidence come from to say, you know what, this is the route that I'm going to take, and I'm very comfortable and confident in that? And then a piggyback to that is, how do you think that level of confidence has helped you in business? So where did the confidence come from, and how has it helped you as a businesswoman?
Definitely. So the confidence definitely came from my parents, and just the way they taught me. So they taught me in a way of, principles of that there's some things that you have to follow. There's things that in the world, it just works. If you give, you will receive, and those things, if you love hard, nothing can overcome love. And those basic things they would teach me. And then on other things of the world, of the career I choose, of the way I choose to make money, of the relationships I have. They taught me the principles, but also taught me that you have to also do things in a way that makes you happy as well. So they allowed me to also think about my own personal happiness in the space. And I think with them teaching me in that way, and stressing the importance of not only doing things in a structured way, but also being able to build it around your happiness too, it made me be able to really stop and think before making decisions. And they allowed me to do that. And it got me comfortable with doing that. And I think also when another thing that they did was they were very honest with the things that they were doing and accomplishing or the failures that they had in their life. And they didn't hold that back from me or my siblings. So if they say they did something where it wasn't a good business deal, they explained that to us that, hey, we make good deals all the time, but hey, this one we did this time, it was not a good deal. And this is why. And so that also, it opened up the door of me knowing that, people make mistakes, that even your parents make mistakes and they don't know everything. Even, the teachers make mistakes. They don't know everything. So that also kind of gave me confidence in my individuality to make decisions and not only think that, hey, just because you said it has to go that way, but I also can think and figure out, hey, what works for me and for my future. So that was a big thing of their teaching style that truly helped me, as well as I grew up in a religious household as well. So with religion, you also learn different structures and different ways of learning, meditating on what you learn in order to apply it into your life. So I think that structure as well helped me with making decisions, knowing that, I can really make a decision based off of me, Chelsea, the person, and who I want to be. And at 18, I don't know, I didn't know exactly what that was. And they allowed me to know that that was okay. You can try, you can make those mistakes. You can, fail. We will be here to make sure you don't, fail below a certain level, because we got you. And we did those mistakes for you already. So they also gave me that confidence because of them letting me know their mistakes, of me being able to say, okay, I don't have to do that because they did that. That helped out a lot.
Good. Oh, this is good. I have so many piggyback questions that I want to ask, because you're just like, you are dropping all the knowledge and we are only in the first segment. So I want to touch on, so you mentioned that you grew up. I'm gonna come back to the parents' mistakes because I want to talk a little bit about your book. So I'm gonna come back to that. But the religious part, that you grew up in a religious household. Everybody who listens to the Six Figure Setup knows I am a Christian. I'm a Jesus girl. I make no qualms about it. Everybody is free to believe what they want to believe, but everybody knows what I believe as well. So I think that what you said in terms of religion, and I find this to be, it's really poignant, I think, particularly for our generation, because there are a lot of people who literally just like hate religious structures, right? And I get it. I understand, why some structures just don't leave room for like true relationship with God and true relationship with people and all of those things. But as someone who grew up in a religious household and in a Christian household, I'll say is that it did give me foundational and like guiding principles by which I live, and it dictates the way that I do business. I literally have on a t-shirt right now. It's kind of hard to see, but it says God is my CEO. One of my girlfriends, Tatum, she has this is a trademark, just so everybody knows. But this is one of the things that she stands on, is that God is my CEO. And literally, because of that foundation in my home, there's just certain things I can't do. I've always run my business with integrity. I've always paid my team and my staff on time, even when it meant paying them before I got paid. I've always operated with clients in a certain way and done business in a certain way. So how would you say in a society, and particularly in a generation that is pushing back against some of the religious constructs, how have you found that upbringing to be beneficial to the way that you do business?
Definitely. So honestly, everything that you just said is kind of how it benefited me as well, was the foundation of the principles and of the simple things and the way to treat people as well. So it's really helped and influenced my leadership. So just knowing that, like I said, how important love is, how important not judging people is, how important, like you said, of not stealing, not cheating, not lying in business, and having true integrity. it truly just set the tone of, that, with those base level foundations that, hey, I can run a solid business and I can go to sleep at night and not have any worries. So,
Yeah.
with that, of being able to know that I can wake up every day, work hard for a living and a earning, and then go to sleep at night in peace, knowing that I did the right thing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of religion kind of tied in with the business for that, as well as, I admire religious structures in a way too, of how they're set up and how they run. Because you have to be able to, manage people. You have to be able to even manage assets of people, donations. You have to have leaders. You have to have trust. And a lot of different things. You have to have publications that are made in the community that you're affecting. So whether it's the good or the bad in religious structures, I feel like we all can pull that information and learn from it, and be able to use it to help us, whether it's in our personal life or in business. But one of the biggest things I think that my spirituality and religion and Christianity has helped me with is, I always say you build your business around your life and
Yeah.
not your, life around your business. So it's helped me with that foundation as well, of saying, hey, who am I? What is the life that I truly want to live? And putting the important things in the, bowl first or in the cup first,
Yeah.
and then putting everything else, in thereafter. So
Yeah.
I think, religion and spirituality has helped me keep that foundation and always go back to that, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. I absolutely love that. I tell people the same thing, like, and to be honest, I can't say that I've always lived this out the best, but I know it that I should build a business that works around my personal life and not the other way around. If we were going to do that, I mean, we could get a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Exactly.
could literally just go to a job that requires me to spend more hours at work than it does at home, and more hours commuting and getting dressed and all of the other things that go into getting ready for work. I could just do that, save myself the stress and headache of having to run a business and all of the responsibility that comes with it, if I was going to cheat myself out of the freedom that being a business owner does afford. And it's not easy. I think that you work more as a business owner oftentimes than you do when you have a job or work for someone else's business. But it's important to me, and I was just having this conversation with my mom a couple of days ago, that it has always been very important to me that I am able to be where God needs me to be and not where I have to be. That for the past 10 plus years, I've always been able to show up to support people, to serve in ministry, to be a part of the community, to show up for my friends when they need me, show up for my family when they need me, and even showing up and building relationships. So let's talk a little bit about that, about balancing, your personal life and, dating into marriage and all of those things. How did you balance that, and how did you continue to balance having a personal life with being the CEO of a sizable company? Like, y'all been in business for over 30 years. Like that's a sizable company and many years to really kind of be carrying on your back. So how would you advise other women to balance the two?
Definitely, but like you mentioned, it's definitely a lot of work.
Mhm.
Even being a business owner, you do work more than most people in your business or the people that you hire. But my main way of balance has been just always realizing that the more I grow, the more the business will grow. So I've always focused on first my personal growth, and figuring out how I can continue to break through barriers or fears or things that I have within myself. And then that allows me to put the time and focus on myself when needed. And then it transitions into the business. And I'm a really scheduled person as well. So that helps as well a lot. I make sure that I schedule in time for myself. I schedule in time for me to do the things that I need to do. Like, for example, I recently started doing swim lessons. So I'm 27 years old. I did not know how to swim. I wasn't really afraid of water, but it still was a thing that I hadn't really learned yet. So I went and I made that a personal thing for me of taking swim lessons. So not only is it helping me on my personal life, but it's also helping me as a business owner because I'm learning past a personal fear. So I'm, growing and saying, hey, this is something that I'm conquering, as well as I'm allowing myself to still be teachable. So I'm saying that I still have things in my life that I still can grow on. Somebody else is still an expert in and can still teach me and help me with. So I'm opening myself up to also learn how to be taught more and learn people's different teaching styles in that same way. So I think that's the great thing about business is that, hey, even though we do work more, we're able to mix the two together a little bit sometimes and learn from life. So like even for example, my business, we're a seasonal company. So we mainly work through March and November. So I made it a point, actually myself and my husband, we made it a goal that in the wintertime, we wanted to travel for at least 30 days out of the country. So we set it a budget, we set a goal, and we said, hey, this is actually going to be an accomplishment that we make for ourselves. So we're going to work hard this year in our business. And if we do the work, this is our, our goal that we were able to reach. And we're actually doing that for the first time this year. We're traveling to Ocho Rios, Jamaica for 30 days and able to take a vacation because of entrepreneurship. And I even to this day, I go and I do it on purpose. I go to my doctor, so my annual doctor's appointments. I go in and I mention to them, hey, I'm going on this vacation. And to hear the doctor still look up in surprise and say, hey, I can't do that. Because they are still working a job. Because they're still having to go in and clock in to make their money. So it's still, even if you work your way up to a high position, but don't leverage your time, you're not able to have that freedom. So that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship. So I a lot of times connect my personal and business goals together and use that to allow me to continue to, have that freedom I need in my personal life. As well as like you mentioned of always using my time to make sure I don't want to miss any football games, any, graduations, any family cookouts, making sure that I'm always able to be there, support, and able to, be there, and to show up for my family because I have this freedom.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. All right. So we're going to take a break only because we have to. When we come back for our break, we're going to continue talking about how Chelsea has been able to continue to build in a male-dominated industry. We're going to talk a little bit about her book. And then we are going to just continue the conversation around establishing legacy in a business. So if you're listening in, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Gone are the days of expensive weekend conferences masquerading as business coaching opportunities. T3 Diversity Solutions is a management consulting firm that helps women of color business owners start, grow, and scale their companies through personalized consulting, access, and support. Their focus on strategic planning and growth is what your business needs to attain and sustain six-figure success. Visit T3DiversitySolutions.com to schedule your 360 business analysis.
All right, welcome back, guys. We are in our interview with Chelsea Ellis Hogan, and we have been talking about just building in a male-dominated industry. We've been talking about establishing a legacy in business, and I really want to dig deeper into that in this segment. So, as I mentioned in the first part of the podcast episode, Chelsea authored a book, an Amazon #1 bestseller called Fail to Success. So Chelsea, you mentioned in our last segment, you talked a lot about how your parents' mistakes and them sharing those mistakes and how they felt their way to success really helped you to be able to do the same thing, to avoid some of those pitfalls, but to also be okay in those moments where you did fail, where you did fall short. So can you talk a little bit about the inspiration for the book? What inspired you to write it? What is it about? Like, just give us the lowdown on the book that you wrote.
Definitely. So I actually wrote that book at 19 years old. And really what inspired me to write that book was I was just reading and taking in a lot of information about different entrepreneurs. I was reading books like The Secret, like Think and Grow Rich, and just different stories. And one thing that I realized that was similar or the same in every story was everyone had a moment of failure. And then after that moment of failure, a lot of times their breakthrough happened right after. And I just kept seeing that be the, same repeat thing that happened, that, the reason why they were able to succeed was just because they didn't give up when things got tough or when things almost got to that point of, maybe failing, but then it turned around and that's when their success happened. So after reading that, and, seeing all those stories, I wanted to create something that motivated people like myself and even motivated myself to keep going through the journey. So what I did was I started blogging every single day. So I would learn something new and then I would write a blog about it. And I would write, how that kind of related to myself or related to my journey. And after a while, I started gaining over, hundreds of blogs. And then that's when I realized I have enough content that I could actually create a product from this. So that's when I put all that information together and added more things to it in order to create the book, to really share with other people going through the journey of how, hey, we will make mistakes, we will have hard times, but it's about, always staying, in our path and keeping going no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you realized that you had a product, and we're going to talk about product creation in our next segment and how you've been able to diversify your streams of revenue. But I think you probably just helped someone simplify the process of writing a book. For me, it was very similar in that I had been the first book that I wrote was a prayer and affirmations book, and it literally came from the prayers and affirmations that I had been writing for years before I actually produced the book. So I love that you shared that. And again, I think it just really simplifies the process. I think there are many things in life and in business that we make harder than what they have to be, and that you can really create from something that you already have, something that is already in your hands or already within you, that it doesn't have to be this new thing in order for you to be successful with it. So I want you all to make sure that you support Chelsea, that you purchase the book, Fail to Success. It'll be linked whenever we post the visuals to YouTube and whenever the podcast episode goes live. So you all will be able to just go directly to purchase a copy for yourself, purchase a copy for someone else. We want to sell her out. Y'all know I'm very big on that. Every time I have a guest, we want to buy them out so that they have no more of their product and have to get more. So let's pivot a little bit, and not really pivot, but I want to kind of segue into this idea of just managing being in a male-dominated industry. I've said that a couple of times. And again, this episode is very important to me because that's something that my company stands on, is that we help our clients to navigate industries where gender diversity is lacking. And quite honestly, I haven't had very many guests who can truly speak to this in the way that you can, which is why I keep going back to that point for any person, but specifically for any woman who is listening, to know that they can do this. So in this industry, so you came into a male-dominated industry at a young age. You also came into an already established business at a very young age. How have you been able to acquire new clients? Like, what is one of the things that you really stand on as the CEO of your company when it comes to acquiring new clients for the business?
Definitely. So for sure in the construction industry, I am completely opposite than what the industry is used to, especially as a leader. Everything about me is completely different. But the thing that has helped me is realizing, okay, in this industry, what was it lacking? And while in it, I've seen a lot of good things and positive, but I also seen a lot of things that the industry was lacking in that I could help and be of benefit to, and I could support and help grow. So one of the things that I learned early on in business was, that always people do business with someone that they like and someone that they trust. So that was one of the first things that my great uncle, as well as my father, taught to me. And one of the things that they trained me on in regards to acquiring new clients, as well as keeping our existing ones. So I really tried to build that information up. I read reviews online from our company to other companies in the industry to see, hey, what are customers really looking for? What are they truly seeking from a company who's in the construction industry? And after reading the reviews, looking online, and just gathering a lot of data and seeing, hey, what could I help improve? I realized that one of the main things that lacked in the industry was customer service and the ability of being able to get information to clients to where they can understand in the same way that the contractors understand. I kind of relate it similar to like a mechanic, of how sometimes it's hard for women to trust a mechanic because we're like, you could tell us anything and we don't know,
Yep.
if we should have only got one part or if you should have really replaced the whole thing.
Yep.
And that is one of the things that kind of existed in the construction industry, to where homeowners, or say women who are homeowners or young homeowners, they were getting contractors coming in, but they wasn't speaking in their language. So they got the service because they knew that they needed it, but they really didn't know the information of how often they should do it, really what was being put down, what it really was protecting. So I realized that if I was able to give that information to customers, really build a relationship, a rapport, as well as also build, a trust in a customer service to where they felt like that we truly cared about them and what they wanted and their needs, I knew that we could truly help the industry grow. So that was my main focus then, as well as now in the industry, that has helped me truly carve out my own lane to
Yeah.
where it's like, she's kind of competition, but hold on, she's kind of doing something we need to learn how to do too.
Yeah.
It's kind of the game that I was able to play and the journey that I've been able to be on that has been able to help the industry. So it's fun because I'm able to challenge them and, able to say, hey, we can do better. We need more women in leadership. We need more young people in leadership. We need more, people able to have ownership who are minorities or who are women, and they're accepting that challenge, as well as I'm able to give an example too of, hey, I'm everything different than what you all say that an owner should be in this industry, and I'm succeeding. So
Yeah.
you all cannot say that it's not possible.
Yeah.
You can't say that a degree is needed. You can't say a certain age is needed. You can't say, you have to be a certain, weight, or, have to be
Yeah.
certain strength to be able to do it. That you can be knowledgeable in construction and be completely opposite than what is used to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my angle. Definitely been challenging, but it's been fun, to be able to look back and see what you're able to accomplish and how it's able to help other people too.
Yeah.
It's kind of my biggest thing that's helped me, stay consistent.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the fact that you have not, one of the things that I really love, and I had to learn this in business, this had nothing to do with my industry, but everything to do with like how I was brought up. So I'm originally from Kentucky, from Louisville, lived there until I was 9, but I grew up in Baltimore. So that really built like that tough skin, tough exterior. And one of the things that I had to learn as a businesswoman was that there was actually a place for my femininity in being a business owner, right? Because that Baltimore, like, I think it could be a product of that tough skin could be a product of environment, whether that is, again, industry, where you grew up. It can be a product of your family. It can be a product of so many things. And what I have found is that actually the femininity, the softer side of me is what has helped to win more people, particularly when I'm sitting in a room with government officials or high-ranking C-level executives, which are oftentimes white men, when I'm sitting in a room with them, that the way that this young Black woman wins them over is really through bringing out the side of me that's a little bit softer, and understanding that doesn't make me weak, though. Have you ever encountered a moment where you had to lean into the softer side of who you are in order to make something happen in your business? And if so, what was that like for you?
Definitely. I can say this year has been probably the year I've had to do that the most. Because kind of like you mentioned, being a business owner and being a woman in business, a lot of times we are trained that, hey, you have to have this sort of thick skin or have to have this sort of extreme sternness about yourself in order to get your point across. But this year I made it a point to kind of say to myself that, hey, sometimes I may need that, but other times, why do I have to do that? Why do I have to be the person who changes and adapts just to get a point across? Why can't we maybe bring it down and communicate in a softer way that allows that point to still get across?
Yeah.
So that's been a thing that I've had to more so implement this year. And I think that people appreciate it, like you said, more than we realize when we do that. Because a lot of times it's more so out of habit that we think we have to be a certain way in business. And when we step out of that habit, we realize we step more into who we are as human beings. And we step more into really focusing on the goals that we truly have, and really just focusing on us as people. So it's helped me out a lot, just, like I said, knowing myself and, being able to show up as myself, as an owner, as a leader, and just be that and not have to change if I'm in a different room or if I'm in a different setting, I'm still me. So it's been fun too, to be able to do that and be a part of that change, because before now, we really didn't have that chance to do it as much. I feel like we're getting more opportunity now than we used to be able to show up in rooms and truly be ourselves. So I also think it's an obligation we have to do that too. So that's definitely been a part of my journey.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for your transparency that you are like, this is a right now thing that I'm still learning how to do. I love that. I love that. And remembering not to fall back into the old way of doing things. I definitely have my moments as well, where I have to remember that it's so, like, I don't have to be Pitbull Tiff. And I think for me, I've been able to even communicate like what my style of dealing with things is, that it's really just direct, right? I don't have to be louder than you. As a matter of fact, I've gotten and grown to a place in my life, and my faith is a part of that, where I want to win more people by being the calmer spirit in this situation. I'm not going to meet you where you at. I'm not going to allow you to take me outside of myself, because first and foremost, I have to be more accountable to someone else, and that's going to be God. And then I have to be able to deal with myself at the end of the day. I have to be able to go to sleep at night. I have to have peace when I lay down, knowing that I handled things well and didn't step outside of my character in order to deal with a challenging situation. So I want to touch on just, have you felt any pressure as a legacy business owner, as someone who came into an already established business? Have you felt any pressure to perform a certain way, or to, live up to the legacy of the men who ran the company before you? Have you felt any sort of pressure, and how have you dealt with that pressure, or how would you advise someone, another young woman who may be feeling that pressure as well?
Yeah, so I've dealt with pressures, but I could say it's been in a different type of way. And one thing I've learned, and I had a meeting, I say it was 2 years ago, with a paving company who's been in the industry for, I think, over like 50 years now. And when sitting with them in the meeting, it was the president over the company. And he told me, he was like, Chelsea, the third generation company, our owner of the company, has the hardest job than any other owner has. because the first generation, they were just building it because they were just trying to create an income for them and their immediate family. They didn't know how big it was going to become. The second generation, they were just trying to make it a little bit better. They still had the mindset of taking care of themselves, taking care of the family. They started thinking just a little bit bigger of how it could become a generational thing. But you, as the third generation, you're the person who has to set up all of the infrastructure that will make it last throughout generations to come. So you'll be the person who has to set up the systems. You'll be the person who has been probably the only person who has met the first and second generation owners. So everybody after you probably won't even meet or would have never had the chance to meet the first generation owner. So you'll be the only person who understands the values, the core, and all of that detail that can pass down to the future. So when I had that meeting and heard that, I was like, well, that's a lot of pressure to put on one person to know that, hey, now I'm that person responsible to make sure that, it lasts throughout the future generations. So with that, it's true and it made sense. And now that I'm going on this journey of the future, I understand what he meant by it. Because when you are building a generational business, you can't think about yourself. You're not only thinking about yourself in the situation, you're literally thinking about everybody else. And how can this business run if there was no me? If I didn't exist, what would make this business still run and still grow? And then I have to put in the infrastructure in order to make sure that happens. Yeah. And also, if there's a future family member who owns the business, or say they don't want to be a business owner.
Yeah.
Say nobody else in the family wants to be a business owner. How can this asset still stay in the family? I have to be the person who thinks about that. Or say the business gets big. So now somebody may want to sue you because you got bigger. Now your competition to bigger companies. Yeah. How can you protect that legacy to where no one can sue you and take your family legacy from you that way? So it's more so of an asset protection, generation of the third generation that you have to really focus on. Of how can I protect what's being built and how can I grow it to where it stays protected for the future to come. Yeah. So it's been, interesting transition because I even had to learn that transition. We've had to put in place things and had to trust other people. So put in things like advisory boards to be able to help grow relationships and make decisions in the business. So a lot of those changes take place in the third generation that really set you up for the future. Yeah. And it's fun, it's challenging, and it challenges the way you think, and it even challenges the previous owners. Yeah. So like me and my father, like I said, like things like advisory boards, we were both looking at each other like, do we really want somebody else telling us or being able to let us know how we can run the business? And then, I had to be that third generation business owner that said, okay, we're here now. So it's a good thing. We need the help. It's more than what we can handle. It's bigger than us. So those are the things that you start to see that transitions once you get to that third generation business.
Yeah, that's so good. I think the part that hit me the most is that you will probably be the only generation who knew the first and second generation. That's deep. Yeah. And something that even in doing like my research about the company and all of that I didn't think about. And I think most people, especially if you're not in a part of a business that has been passed down through generations, you probably, never will understand that or be able to see that. And I think it also speaks to the importance of passing down. I was actually just reading an article the other day about a Ugandan society or like a group of people back in like the early 1800s who was it's believed that they were the first to ever perform a cesarean section on a woman, right? That the woman was pregnant. They had to, do a C-section on her, but this was in the early 1800s. So this is when, like slavery's going on, like all of these other crazy things are going on. Black and brown people, Black people, African people were figuring out how to do something that would not be popularized for generations to come. So I'm reading that and I literally thought to myself, like, who was the auntie or the grandmother that sat down and said, baby, this is how you do this. This is how you pass this down, to even be able to know and to teach future generations. And like this individual said, like, you were able to get it from the mouth of the person who built it and who knows it, but you are going to be that mouthpiece for many, many generations to come. I think that's so special. That is so special. Yeah. All right. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. When we come back, we're going to wrap up. I want to really get into talking about the money. Y'all know this is my favorite part of the show. So we're going to talk about diversifying streams of revenue. And then Chelsea is also going to share her 6-figure secret. So stick around. We'll be right back.
The holiday season is upon us, and So Our Fitness wants to help you enjoy your celebrations while maintaining your health and nutrition goals. So Our Fitness is an international fitness company that helps women and men achieve their fitness goals through healthy living and exercise. If you are ready to take your fitness life to the next level, check them out on Instagram today at MJ Fitness Global.
All right, guys, welcome back to the last segment. We are down to the end of our time with Mrs. Make sure you put the Mrs. on the front, Miss Chelsea Ellis Hogan. And we have been talking about building in a male-dominated industry, how to keep clients and get clients when you inherit a business, what it looks like to establish a legacy business. And then we've talked about all of the personal nuances that go into that: confidence, faith, femininity, writing a book, being present in your personal life, all of these other things. So we've covered a lot, but there are just a few more things that I want to cover before we let her go. And we are going to talk about diversifying streams of revenue. We're talking about getting to the money, y'all. So Chelsea, you've been able to, just from this one company and just from having an entrepreneurial mindset, you've been able to create multiple streams of revenue for yourself. And I want people to notice that I did not say multiple businesses. Yes, Chelsea has an entrepreneurial mindset. She can go off and start or grow any business that she wants to. But what I really want to focus on is the streams of revenue that you've created. And one of those have been keynote speaking. So what made you even get into being a keynote speaker? And how have you been able to grow that stream of revenue?
Definitely. So what made me really get into keynote speaking was realizing how much knowledge and information that I was learning that could benefit the industry and other people who are coming in after me. So it made me realize that, hey, not only should I be putting in the work to be able to, have success for myself, but I also should package up this information in different ways that can help other people in their business and in their industry, whether it be construction or whether it just be an entrepreneurship. So that was really the main thing that helped me in the beginning to want to create other streams of revenue, especially from like keynote speaking and things like that. As well as because that's how I learned. I learned from speakers, going to events, listening to podcasts. That was my education and my teachers for entrepreneurship. So I really wanted to be a part of that community and give back to the community that, gave a lot to me.
I love that. I love that you wanted to package and teach the information in the same way that you learned it. And again, as I mentioned in the first segment, I love that you were clear on your learning style at a young age. And I think that every business owner needs to be clear about their learning style, whether it's hearing information, hands-on, whether it's reading, whatever it may be, that people retain and learn information in different ways. So not only are you a keynote speaker, but you have created some products. So we know that you wrote your book, Fail to Success, and you already shared the story about how you were able to do that. But you've also been able to create some other digital products. So what made you want to get into the digital product creation space, and what just one piece of advice would you give to someone who is thinking about creating their own digital products?
Definitely. So, what mainly made me get into the digital product creation space is knowing that with asphalt and construction, it's a traditional business, and knowing that the way of the future in the world is technology. So, I knew that it didn't make sense for me to always only stick to only having one stream of income that was only tied to traditional style when I know the world is also changing. So I wanted to make sure that I had my foot in the door and I had a, really good product online that I could share in that space, and take what I knew from the traditional world and from my traditional style to be able to also make a revenue online where everybody was at. So that was just really my main reason. I know now and I knew then that everybody is online. That's where people are going to learn. That's where people are going and spending their time at. So it just didn't make sense not to have a product online, especially if I had information to share.
Yeah, for sure. And what piece of advice would you give to someone who is like you, who comes from a more traditional industry, or who's maybe just trying to, who comes from a service-based industry? Let's just do it that way. They're coming from service-based and they want to create a product. What piece of advice would you give them?
Definitely. So what I did was I attended every 3 months. I went to different online marketing and online learning training expos to learn about things like blogging, things that like really made me scared and that was different and things that I knew would take a lot to learn. So things like SEOs, YouTube advertisement, Google advertisement, to just open up my mind to those different things. So I advise you to, learn about different things online and ways to advertise your business using the internet. And with that, that's what opened up my mind to the different ways to be able to create and market products online. So a lot of times, as traditional business owners, we think, hey, we'll work our business, the business will be our retirement. And then we don't think about how the information we learn from what we're doing can also be another stream of income. And we don't want to, keep that only with ourselves and not allow other people to learn from it. So there's a lot of business owners who have, like my great uncle, he had 20 years of experience in business. Like my father, he has 40 years of experience in business. And people like that, I feel like, need to share their information. And there's no better way to do so than the internet where everybody is at. So that's really my suggestion, is really learning about ways that you can use online to be able to get information out there and just getting started. Because a lot of times when it comes to something new, we try to stop, we try to make sure it's perfect, we try to make sure, we are doing it the right way, and we try to make sure we have an audience first. But really, when it comes to the internet, you just want to create content. Even if you don't have an audience yet, just create that content and then you can tweak it as you go, is what I really learned about product creation, is that you find your audience, you find the product you want, and you do it, and then you tweak as you go to make it right.
Yeah, that's helping me, because one of my good friends reached out to me recently and he's like, Tiffany, you need to create a product. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I love the work that I do and the way in which I deliver my services, which is service-based. But I also love what you said, that we have to step out of that comfort zone, and just also think about what will help us to get to retirement faster, and be able to sustain us even long after we're gone. The other thing is that sadly, we don't know if we're going to make it to retirement. So we don't want to die with that knowledge in us when it could help to benefit someone else. We don't want to be having 20, 30, 40 years of knowledge, but it's not really captured anywhere that could help future generations to come. So that's one of the beautiful things that I do find about the space of technology, is that it's capturing everything, good and bad, but it's capturing those things that we want future generations to know. So we are down to the very end of our show. This is the moment you all have been waiting for. This is where Chelsea is going to spill her six-figure secret. All right. So Chelsea, you have a secret to sustaining six-figure revenue in business. Can you please share with the people what that has been for you?
Yes, so my secret for sustaining six-figure revenue has been truly managing the business by the numbers. So a lot of times when it comes to business, we know we have to have cash flow. We know we have to purchase assets and different things like that. But a lot of times we don't know exactly when it's time to purchase, when it's time to grow, when it's time to scale. So truly figuring that out and looking at the documents and growing relationships with my accountant has helped me so much. To where now when managing the business, I'm managing by what I see from the numbers, and I'm able to see the mistakes. I'm able to see what we're good at, and I'm able to make true decisions based off of what the business really needs. And there's also books about that that's helped me out a lot. There's actually a book called Managing by the Numbers that you can read to be able to learn how you can do that. Because a lot of times with business owners, we do what is called guesstimating. We guess what our price should be. We guess what we should be charging. We guess based off of the market maybe saying it, but we're not looking at the whole full view of all the details. But when you truly do that, it truly changes the game for your business.
Yeah. You cannot guesstimate your way into success. That is not how that works at
Definitely.
all. I love that. And even what I heard was pricing strategy, that you don't just price based off of these random factors or things that you think you should price off based off of, but pricing really has to be done based on the numbers. And there's a strategy to pricing. I talk to my clients about this all the time. Anytime they're thinking about launching something new or even doing a price increase, that we have to be responsible as business owners for giving ourselves a pay raise. The cost of living goes up every year. The cost of doing business goes up every year. If you're looking at 2020 through 2022, the cost of business has gone up multiple times in 1 year. So if you want to keep up with that, you have to be able to give yourself pay raises. You have to be able to give your team pay raises in order to keep up with things. And the way that you do that is by cutting expenses and increasing the amount that you're bringing in, which is your revenue. And there's a strategy to doing all of those things. So make sure that you all heed Chelsea's advice. Make sure that you all get the book Managing by the Numbers, and that you manage by your numbers and develop a close relationship with your accountant so that they can help guide you. You do not do anything in business based off of how you feel. I also love you touched on this earlier, that in your research and preparing for the role that you have now, that you would look at customer reviews, not just for your company, but from other companies. All of these types of things, this is the way the CEOs think. CEOs have to be responsible for thinking outside of the box, for being able to do the research, but the thinking is also very simple. If you want to know what your audience thinks, ask them. If you want to
Definitely.
know what other people have experienced with other businesses, look at their reviews. If you want to know what price something should be set at, look at the numbers, right? So it's very simple things. But again, I think sometimes we make everything in life, but many things in business ownership, we make it harder than what it really has to be. So I love that in today's episode, you've really simplified a lot of things for people. And these are things that people can walk away with and actually implement in their own businesses. So you guys, we are down to our time. Trust me, I have much more that I could talk to Chelsea about, but we are down to the end of our time. Chelsea, thank you so very much for being on with us today. Can you tell people how they can stay connected with you?
Definitely. And thank you so much for having me. I've definitely enjoyed this time speaking with you. And you all can find me online on all social media platforms. My name on there is Chelsea Ellis Hogan, as well as my company name is Reynolds Asphalt Contractor Inc.
Yes, yes. And we'll make sure to link Chelsea's Instagram handles and social media handles along with the website. If you are in the greater Louisville area, and I say Louisville because I'm from there, Louisville, if you're not from there, but if you're in that metro area, make sure that you all reach out to Jim Reynolds Asphalt, that you patronize the business. Again, we want to have them booked and busy. We want Chelsea to sell out of all of her books. We want her booked for all the speaking engagements possible, and make sure that you purchase the digital products as well. So Chelsea, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So that is it for today. I had a really good time. I hope you all were taking notes. Y'all know I love to show y'all my little notebook every time I'm done, because I literally take notes during the time with my guests, and I hope you all did the same. I'm so inspired by Chelsea's story. I had no idea that she didn't go to college, so that was new information to me, but I'm inspired that she is crushing it in a male-dominated industry, how she's balancing marriage and business, and how her and her husband have built this amazing reward system for themselves, but also how you all can take the things that she talked about today, implement them in your business, and you can see the same success as well. So I'm signing off for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Six Figure Setup podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Gillespie, and I'll see you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Businesses have life cycles just like humans, and what they need at each stage will be different.
Yeah, it's a setup.